Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It's Jessica Magoch, and this is your Monday Morning Motivator with Jessica Magoch, CEO of JPM Sales Partners and creator of the Sales Launch Code, sharing everything I learned recruiting, training, and leading a B2B commission-only sales team for a startup from zero to over $100 million in 3 years, and especially focusing on those bootstrapped ladies in tech who are making their businesses grow even without outside funding. So welcome. I'm excited to share this lesson with you today about goal setting and why it's a myth and why it doesn't work. And my dad talked about it in his book, The Spirituality of Success. So if you don't have that yet, go ahead and pick that up. I was inspired from a post I saw in a Facebook group where someone asked, hey, so when you talk about making bank, bro, and ballin' money, what kind of numbers are we talking about? And so I responded, and they said, what do you think about this? And I had responded, and then I realized this is a much bigger answer to this question than I could fit in a Facebook group. So I'm fixing my hair here too. I'm doing a Facebook Live on it. Excuse the scratchiness of my voice. I was recording in vocals for a hip hop EP last night in Philly, my other life, my music life. So, but it all merges, it all goes together, right? So here's why goal setting doesn't work. His post was focused on like, what should my income goals be? What is ballin' it money? Like, what should I be focusing on? What number should I be trying to get to? And it reminded me of the lesson in my dad's book, how goal setting is a myth and goal setting doesn't work. So goal setting is like pretty commonly accepted practice amongst coaches and trainers and things like that especially in sales, right? To get you where you want to be and to reverse engineer where you want to be and how to get there. The problem with it is that is a very logical approach. But if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that success and sales is not logical. It's actually a very emotional and spiritual practice. So, and what I mean by spiritual is that it's going to follow the laws of the universe. Whether you know what they are or not, your sales, your success, your path is going to have to abide by certain principles of the universe. And one of them is that whatever you focus on, you'll get more of. So focus is actually giving attention to something. It's like putting gas on a fire. Whatever you focus on, you'll get more of. And by creating a goal, what happens when you create a goal is the first thing you start thinking about, or the first thing you create a goal. And then the second thought is inherently, you can't not do this, is you're thinking about not having that goal. And the more you focus on the goal, the more you're actually putting out into the universe that you don't have that goal. And then you get more of that, which is lack. So by focusing on it, you're actually pushing it away. I was just working with a salesperson, and she had this challenge where she was constantly focused on the leaderboard, focused on pushing her goals and getting to the number that she wanted at the end of the week, and also comparing herself to everybody else on the leaderboard. And this is actually causing a huge mindset block for her when it came to closing sales. Because by focusing on closing the sale, she actually was not closing the sale. And what the reason that is because your outward world is a reflection of your inner world. Unless you change what's going on up here, you're not going to get a different result out there. Or you may get a different result in your bank account temporarily, but it will soon escape you because your outside world has to match your inside world. So as long as if you believe you're not worthy of that income goal that you've actually set, then there's no way you'll actually be able to attain it. So with this salesperson, I made her stop looking at the leaderboard and like cut her access to it. It's like, you're not allowed to look at it. You're not allowed to think about numbers. You're not allowed to think about how many deals you're closing and how much money you're making. I only want you to think about helping people. And she's like, thank you for the permission to do that, because I've had other sales trainers in the past who were so pushing me so hard to close. And the way that resulted, as you know, the way that subconsciously manifested in her sales was she virtually completely stopped rapport building at all. She was so focused on technique and taking them through technique that her rapport building was less than a minute. But she knew this was important. And when your genuine intention is to help people, rapport building is going to come naturally, to want to get to know them so you can help them solve their problem. But when it's not, when it's focused on closing the deal, you'll just move from technique to technique and go through the process to get until you get to the end of the script. And unfortunately, the result is that you don't actually end up closing. So crazy phenomenon, like you hire me as a sales coach, I'm actually going to not focus on closing, as crazy as that sounds, because that's the thing that's holding you back from closing. Instead, I'm going to ask you to set an objection or an intention. And there's a difference between goals and objectives or intentions. A goal is highly focused on one end result that really has all to do with you and not much with anyone else around you or the people that you're helping. So if I want to make $1 million a year, okay, who else cares about that except me and maybe my immediate family? Success is something that requires a community. When people know what your objective is and your intention, people will rise up, people will appear, and you'll be introduced to people who will help you get to achieve your objective. But if your objective is just to make $1 million at the end of the year, who else cares about that? Nobody cares about that. So you're not going to have that community. But if you have a vision of what you want to accomplish that in some way helps people, then people will get on board with that. And the byproduct will be money. The byproduct will be closing sales. Does that make sense? So that's why we really have to eliminate this idea of goal setting. Yes, it's helpful in a certain extent at a certain time. But as soon as you set those goals, you've got to let them go. Because it's your intention behind the goal and your objective that really matters. And sometimes you cannot create a linear path to that number or to that goal. You have to be open to other ways of getting there that might be totally different than what you expected. But if you create this linear path, I'm going to do X, Y, Z to get to that goal. Anyone who's reached any level of success will tell you, I can't tell you exactly how to get there because it was a series of meeting people and being in the right place at the right time, and all those things that are inexplicable are the laws of the universe at work. So they're working whether you know it or not. I think of goal setting as do you remember the limit in calculus? It's the only real life application I've ever used of calculus, which is the limit is like that circle on the graph, and X and Y approaches the circle, but can never actually hit the limit. So that's what the definition of the limit is. They approach the limit. They could go infinitely close to the limit, but they can't actually get to the limit. That's what goal setting is like. It's like creating a limit for yourself. It's creating this subconscious limit for yourself. Inherently, by creating that goal, you've already just said, I don't have that thing, and you push it further away. Crazy, right? But this is the kind of things that we talk about and actually works in practice. My dad in his book had referenced a goal setting study that was done out of Yale, how, those people who wrote down their goals were X percentage more likely to reach them, but also showed but later on it was shown that test never actually happened. That study never actually happened. It was completely made up and no one could support it. So it's interesting. Anyway, go back to that chapter in his book because he goes into a lot of detail about it. So the solution is to create objectives that involve helping other people. And by helping other people or helping solve a certain problem, the money and the sales will come through that. And that goes outside of sales too. Like for my music, my objective is to be there for someone in their time of need, because I know music can be your best companion. The person or thing that's there with you when you're completely alone. And I may never know if that objective is achieved because people might not share that with me. But the byproduct may be winning a Grammy and getting recognized and all of those things. But if I keep focusing on what my intention is, then I know my focus is pure. Well, I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week. Bye.